Hello, I'm David Jordan. Call me Wavy Davy. I'm an artist, fifth generation Floridian and artist. I've been making props, puppets, and gags for entertainment industry since the late 80s. So, when it comes to Nickelodeon, I had a time I was working out in L.A., Hollywood, and some things came up, and I went back home to Florida to take care of some things. And while I was there, a friend of the family, Nancy Blaylock, who was working in the art department at Nickelodeon, she hooked me up with the head of the art department at Nickelodeon, Charles Collum. I came in and we talked, and before you know it, I was getting calls from them. They were beginning to do these interesting little game shows, Double Dare. I think Super Sloppy Double Dare was where we got in on the whole Nickelodeon train. I think that's one of the first things that was prop mastering and what have you, building all those crazy, goofy, slimy, gacky, stunts. Yeah. And then it's just, you know what, it's gone on and on to this day. I guess one of my last projects with them was the Fresh Beat Band, so it's been a lot of years, a lot of Nickelodeon. My first real impression of the place was wow. I mean, it was, having, done some wonderful stuff in L.A., Hollywood. I, worked in the Culver Studios, and that's where, like, Gone with the Wind and what have you was shot, and places like that. They had a lot of history, but they were also pretty old. So when I walked into Nickelodeon, it was really wow. It was, pretty much state-of-the-art sound stages, and the offices and everything were all attached. It was just a very, very tight-knit, very impressive scene. It was very, very fresh. It was very cool. You could feel the buzz of cool new things happening. It was really a very poppy, cool time. A typical day at Nickelodeon, there were no particularly typical days. I mean, that was the great thing. It was a very imaginative, you want what kind of place. It's like, okay, you want 100 gallons of slime to fall from the sky, or you want 100 gallons of slime to shoot from the ground, or you want a giant talking megalith head to be puppeteered. There were just so many crazy things, and the typical day, there was no typical. No. I worked on the show Allegra's Window. That was wow, what a little blessing of a show that was. Just a sweet, magical world that was created, a puppet world, which is a real passion of mine. Puppets have been in my life since, well, a long time, but going back professionally to like Pee-wee's Playhouse and stuff like that. So being near puppets is always magical. That group of people, incredible talents. Marty Robinson, Pam Arcier, Tim Lagasse, Heather Ashe, Anthony Asbury, Kathy Mullen, who was the creator of the show and the star of the show. Just wonderful puppet talents, and it was so beautiful to have that all down there in little Orlando, Florida. It was it was a sweet time, and you could, you just felt really wonderful about the project. Uh, very, very sweet. The music was, just a beautiful thing. The puppetry was, I haven't come across as charming a puppets in I don't know, they're beautiful. The mechanics, the blinks, the way Allegra's little eyes looked, it was a very, very charming piece of entertainment. I'm very proud of that. I created gags for, so many shows. Gags, that there's props, which is, anything on television that, somebody holds a coffee cup, or they have a briefcase in their hand, or whatever. That's props. But there's a creative, inventive, tinkerer side of what I get to do, and it falls into a lot of gags. So that is, and most gags are attached to humor, comedy. What a fun way to challenge yourself to make some sort of silly thing that pops or breaks or hits somebody in the bum or the face right on cue. It's making gag props has been a beautiful, fun, creative, I don't know, art for me. The art of the gag. Very, keeping the child spirit and creativity. It's a great challenge. It is always a beautiful, silly art form. Wonder what prop things I might still have around my life. You build so much of this stuff and it has to go away from your life. But I still have, just in my edges of my art studios and things like that, I have some of the prototype design pieces for Stick Stickly. I've got little Stick Stickly stuck around. And just kind of, see him out of my corner of my eye still. What a fun character that was. Some great, laughs and all about that character. A real funny little guy. I have, pieces of Boney the dinosaur from Wienerville. I have a little bin full of pieces of foam from him. I every once in a while I'll open the bin and go, oh yeah, Boney. There's not a lot that you get to take home with you, but there are little scrappy pieces of stuff. I know I have a bin of ping pong balls that came off the big ear of corn from all that I made. Another goofy character. So yeah, little bits of fluff and foam. Foam's my friend. Yeah. So, in terms of like the way the sound stage and all went down in Florida, it was great. I mean, we had really wonderful, well laid out stages. They had it was always very impressive. These I believe they called them Desisti electrical packages, which was an electric, winch-driven lighting system. So you could like press buttons and all the lights would come down, and you could, all the lighting guys could adjust things without being up and down on ladders all over the place. It was very, a lot of good state-of-the-art stuff. In terms of the sound stages had these wonderful big breezeways that covered over between one sound stage and the other, and those were big kind of areas for me and my art crews to figure out a lot of gags and props, especially those big things for Guts and Double Dare and things like that. We even had like for Double Dare, there was a built-in a big sort of ramped-in thing that we would drive all those big gags into, and then fire hose them off. You know, you had to wash all that whipped cream and what have you off of all those things. Try and keep them clean. Gosh, it was slippery. All that dairy product. I think I had the record for the most slips and what have you on the Crazy Week floors. My car smelled like it was the summer. I can remember driving home just completely sticky and covered with whipped cream and slime, and yeah, my car smelled like a Dairy Queen that had gone bad, I think. That was definitely one of the lesser parts of the thing. Ironically funny. So I constantly get asked about the slime and the gack. There's a big difference, slime, gack, and about the slime geyser and what have you. They're that beautiful creation out in front of the Nick Studios. The geyser would bonk and clang and what have you, and erupt a beautiful green pillar of slime out of it on multi-hourly basis. Throughout the day it would go off. That in the geyser was really tinted waters and what have you. But when it comes to slime, we had slime which was basically made out of a thing called methicil. It's I always like to describe it as plant guts. It's like the squishings out of the middle of a plant. If you've ever squished an aloe vera plant or something like that, it's kind of like that. It's cellulose out of a plant, and we get it in a dehydrated dry form. It's been cleaned, and you mix it very carefully with hot waters and what have you, slowly, and when done properly, you get it's just this wonderfully gooey, slimy substance. And then, of course, you tint it beautiful, bright Nickelodeon slime green. And then gack was a totally different thing. It could be that's more open-ended. In the Double Dare days, we would have if we had a burrito gag, we would have some sort of black bean gack, which might have some dried beans in it, but it also might be a mixture of puddings. I liked using a lot of puddings. That would all of these things had to be safe enough to go in your mouth. If a kid screaming and some of that stuff got in their mouth, it had to be safe. So methicil, gack, everything we made had to be very kid friendly. So I used a lot of vanilla pudding as kind of a base for things, very tintable, and you could change the colors. The methicil, which was clear and slimy, always good. Oatmeal, I used a lot of creamy oatmeal. That was a good one. And some people like pancake batter, but again, you do have spoilage is an issue. Things like that. You have to take care not to give spoiled food products into kids' mouths too. So yeah, huge variety. Lots of gallons of slime and gack in my world. Yeah. Oof. The question about whether I get slime. Have I ever been slimed? Oh my gosh, I have probably had more sliming than many Americans. At times we would test. I mean, we were trying to figure out some of these gags and what have you, and how are you gonna safely feel good about putting a kid or a parent or whatever into one of your little gag gizmos unless you sort of tested it on somebody. And what do you know who are you going to test it on? Pretty much us, our crew. We would take one for the team. So yeah, I mean, I can remember, there's plenty of times with the silly little helmets on and breaking balloons and having things fall on you. But I also got slimed a lot, just in general working. I can remember so clearly we had a gag that didn't get used in the sloppy double dare show, and there you are taking it off stage, wheeling it. It's completely loaded full of, I remember it was ice cold applesauce, and I'm pushing it across the sound stage, and somehow the trigger gets pulled and the whole thing completely dumped me. Oh God, it was a mess. Yeah, I've been slimed. The Orlando area was, in those days, it was a very magical, popping time. They talk, oh, Orlando may be the Hollywood East. Boy, we sure were optimistic and what have you. It was a great time. The community there. The entertainment industry seems to it seemed to pop a lot of business. There's a lot of ancillary things around that get money spent on them, and it just felt really good. The economy felt good then. It was a great time. We were pretty excited, and it was, for me, it was beautiful because I'm a Florida swamp boy. So to be able to practice my art, creativity, and be, near family, my beautiful watery Florida, it was great. So, unfortunately some things have died off, I don't know, evolved, and it's not quite Hollywood East. But still love the place. There is creativity down there still. It's good. The cool thing was Nickelodeon, the studios were attached right to the Universal, Nickelodeon Studios was attached directly to the Universal Studios theme park, and that was a crazy, amazing thing to add to your overall vibe of what's going on. I mean, you have the task of executing these crazy whack-out shows for Nickelodeon, and then you layer on top of that the fact that there's an entire tourism thing going on right beside you. At certain times, especially I can remember all that, we had a kind of an art trailer that was just outside of the sound stage, and so my guys and me were always out there trying to figure out how to make the next gag, the next goofy prop, and we had our crazy art tables just spread all over trying to figure these things out, and the Universal tourist trams would drive past us, 4, 5, 6, 7, throughout the day. And it was just it added to the surreal nature. You'd be sculpting, a giant cup of coffee or something like that, and you're all into this, and here going past you is all these, sunburned European. Many of the props and things like that, they were for a long time they were housed. When Nickelodeon, when everything was in Orlando, it was a very tight thing. They had the studios and the offices, and then over a few miles away they had a wonderful facility which was a beautiful shop, painting department, and they also had a wonderful, sort of storage space that kept all props and things like that. And a lot of the old stuff would storehouse in there. Since it's moved, Nickelodeon's divested from the Orlando scene and what have you. I know out in L.A. that they have a company that does a lot of storage for them. So it's surprising. A lot of the old props, they just kind of fade off. And I don't know that there is a huge collection of the old things. I'd like to think there was a little museum or something of some of our old goofy things. The big ear of corn, and Boney. Anyway, but I don't know. That would be cool. I have to say that the time I spent in Orlando and Nickelodeon's studio, the studios there at Nick, it was a great thing for me and my creative mind, what have you. We explored so many really wacky things. You just felt, wow, I'm getting paid to figure out this. This is great. The whimsy, the pursuit of child spirit. Those things are they've gotten into my heart, and I realize the importance of all of that. And I'm thankful always to try and continue to explore creativity, and hopefully with a child's openness. So a lot of that was really explored back then in Nickelodeon, and I sure carry a lot of it to this day. Good things. So the staff at Nickelodeon, it was great. I mean, there was a family quality to a lot of things that were going on. There was a time when there's just a rotating door of projects coming, being designed either in a lot of times New York or L.A. The creative, higher end thinkers would develop their shows and then come down, and we would help execute them. So it was a wonderful oasis of people who were just waiting for this next wacky challenge to come from Nickelodeon, and we were always very proud to pull off whatever they gave us as a challenge. It was beautiful, some wonderful goofy art teams, some wonderful goofy Grip Electric Brothers. We all knew each other, on and off work, and so it became very family. We had good communications and a lot of laughs. It was a wonderful staff and crew and family in so many ways. So, as a favorite behind the scenes sort of story, gosh, there's a lot of goofy things. One of them that was pretty funny was I had the pleasure of working with Mark Weiner on Weinerville, and again, we became a really tight-knit group. Mark, just a funny comedian mind, always coming up with absolutely off-the-wall ideas, and here we are trying to, you know, bring to life his funny imagination. Anyway, his character, he did puppet things where he puts his head in this box and has a puppet body, and he had all different characters that he would do that. And this one particular episode was a show all about bubble gum, and there was like a bubble gum blowing contest going on in the show, and you know, we got bags and bags of bubble gum. We had to do little silly props made out of chewed up bubble gum. We had to stick it on different things, and all manner of bubble gum gags you can imagine. Well, one of the gags had to do with Mark sitting in with his little character chewing a big bubble and blowing it and it popping on his face. Well, Mark is Orthodox and could only chew kosher gum, and I had the hardest time finding kosher gum down in Orlando. So anyway, Mark comes in and he goes, "Okay, I brought my own gum," and we put it on this special place on the shelf. And anyway, during the day, it's like somebody's setting up a scene. It's like, "Oh, more gum, we need more gum." So people are, it's like, "Here, cameraman, chew this gum, stick it on this board, just cover this thing with gum." Somehow, that one piece of kosher gum got, chewed by a helpful, person trying to help, and that they chewed the one piece of kosher gum I had. Anyway, long story short, I ended up having to take and going to a bathroom and washing the piece of kosher gum and sterilizing it with, like some vodka or something like that, and blah blah blah, to then take that kosher piece of gum and give it to Mark so he could do the bubble gag. It was I don't know. It was that was just a wow. Only in the entertainment business, huh? Yeah. So, what I think made Nick special is probably, I don't know. It was just a wonderful time. That the young nature of cable television and what have you at that time. It was splashy fun. It was like a pop art kind of thing in so many ways. Just coming at you, bang, pow. Those interesting art challenges, and then mix them up with some sweet. You had wonderful, imaginative people coming out of New York and L.A., and then you're bringing it down to this wonderful group of people. The Orlando. There was just a southern charm about a lot of the crew and what have you, and I thought it was just a wonderful combination. We made a lot of funny things, and we had a lot of goofy laughs. It was good. If Nickelodeon Studios were reopened, I would certainly appreciate it. I think it was a special time. It's I know that the business is business, and Paramount owns Nickelodeon, and Universal's their competitors. But to have all those wonderful people who coming into Florida and having their Florida experience at Universal Studios, to have the Nickelodeon thing right there, so they just sort of flowed through, and it was a special time. I think I've had a lot of kids who many of them are now grown up, and they've expressed what a magical experience it was. I sure wish it were still available to the children like it was, to the families like it was. It was a good thing. Yeah, those were the days.